we made it. And they're still open. Now, for the hard part. This is when you use the automatic door opener. You should see me behind this umbrella. It's worse than singing in the rain. We're gonna go ahead and open it about the right time. As you may see, we got in relatively, I would say, somewhat dry. And that's all I have for you tonight. Vlog over. Please subscribe. It's a rainy night of this November 10th. I hope I'm right on that one. 2021. Raining very hard. You have a good night. This one's going all the way out to Argyle. Looks like it's a pretty rainy one tonight, November 10th, 2021, about 9:25, Flower Mound. Like a really nice neighborhood in Flower Mound, Lantana. Thought that was a cool looking house. It's right there on the corner. Right off Keeler. Pretty cool looking house. In a neighborhood called Brinham, right off Latana, or in the Latana area. Mother Nature's very, very difficult to capture. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of footage to get the really good lightning strikes. The leaves blowing towards the window, the rain splashing down. You can get some of it, but you have to be very patient. It takes a lot of time. Have a good night. Well, we're leaving Flower Mound. That's the Saddlebrook. It's like an equestrian park. Horses, show horses and things like that. So I put on some Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy, and the Infinite Sadness while the rain is calming down. But the lightning still's in effect, and looks like we got a first responder coming by. Give them some room. We'll hear the full effects of first responders coming through. As I was saying, I personally am a big fan of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. I've been watching some Smashing Pumpkins late at night. I wrote a book to Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. It's called Untitled. It's on my pen name, Ash Cole, under Fiction Press. Why I did that, I don't know. It was the only really good album I had that year living in Euless, Texas. I came back from New York. I'm living in New York for a year studying acting. I figured, well, I'll just write a book. And it just all came from fantasy, from living in Los Angeles for a year and living in New York for a while. About a character that changes forms and warps around. I believe his character's name is Jonah in it. And I wrote the entire book to Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. I think it was almost like 1,000 pages. And the character finds this kind of like drug in LA called Myosin R, which makes him basically kind of eventually transport from one area to another, which he ends up in Chicago for a little bit. And a giant, well, this big apartment. It's just like a skyscraper. He gets stuck in this room where he wakes up. He doesn't know who he is. He's a different kind of person. And he leaves Chicago eventually, and he becomes another character that leaves from, I believe, California, goes across the Midwest to Washington, D.C. The three characters, Jonah, and then it ends in Steve What's-His-Face, which is kind of like ends in like a pickpocket kind of character. Jonah was a character that was like worked at a donut shop in LA. And Jay, I think, is another character that he becomes when he goes to Chicago. He meets like a Billy Corgan character that's somewhat hinted to be like a vampire, who he has like a moment with. It's kind of Chester the cat, or the Chester cat, and Lewis Carroll, I guess a Chesterfield cat character who plays piano and lives in this kind of gothic house, who doesn't really know who he is. It's all kind of stream of consciousness and very dreamlike, the whole book is. And I was kind of starving in Euless when I wrote it, and I played a lot of music. This is about the time when Elliott Smith was found dead in Echo Park, around that time. it was going on, and I was in Euless at the time. I wrote another book, and I think another book after that, but Untitled was the one that I wrote to Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. I think I even used passages in the book. Why I did that, I don't know. Why? It just happened. But my guitar was right there beside me the entire time. And I would just go back and forth from Euless to Dallas, waiting tables, and then back to my little place where I'd continue to write and play guitar and write and jog. I even ran a marathon, not with other people, but I timed it. Well, I didn't time it, but I got the distance. You know, I went out and measured the distance in a car that I got, and I was able to actually run most of the marathon and walk some of it at that time. I probably ran and walked, or jogged and walked. Did a whole lot. I was also listening to a lot of classical music at the time too. Fortune, you know, the one the monks wrote, dun 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 dun. Listened to that for a while too, and other classical stuff. And I read a lot of masterful works and stuff. It was kind of something I think I needed to do for that year. Remember, it got really cold in Euless and it snowed. This was like 2003, 2000, and going into 2004. Anyway, it's on my fiction press under ash coal. All right, well, we're headed back to Texas Motor Speedway. I guess have another good night. another good night. I'm listening tonight to Tonight right now, or I'm about to, and part of Melancholy, the Infinite Sadness, more so. I think probably one of my top 5 albums of all time, definitely, along with Pink Floyd and a few others. Pink Floyd, The Wall, Melancholy, Infinite Sadness are definitely right there. Although I really wish the Smashing Pumpkins would have made kind of a movie. They did kind of make somewhat of a movie with the videos, several different movies, but I wish they would kind of put all those together and do like a Pink Floyd, The Wall kind of album to that, if ever. I'm sure it'll happen in some form or fashion. It'll never be The Wall. Don't get me wrong, it'll never be Pink Floyd, The Wall. But I always figured that album was worthy for a full-on movie. Eventually, would be nice. Tonight's probably going to be painful. Probably 3 uploads because of the amount of time it takes to capture lightning. It makes me mad when I see a gorgeous lightning strike and the camera's not on. I actually get a little mad. There's other interesting... There we go. Thunder's too far away. Yeah, it's frustrating because you see this magnificent electrical storm happening, yet you're just kind of sitting there going, la 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 la. Oh, that was a cool lightning strike. There was another one. That was an interesting thing that I didn't have the camera on at that moment. Let me tell you something. Filmmaking, it's very, very hard, and it's torturous. I kind of had a feeling 2 years ago that Angel was going to leave me. And I just kind of, I guess in a way, I wouldn't say buried myself into filmmaking, but I certainly experimented quite a bit with my Samsung 8, and it took a while before I got with Apple. And I didn't, stop with music, of course. I did both. I felt like I had to. But it was more accessible to have the filmmaking. It was more accessible at the time because I was on the road so much with Uber. And then I just kind of dedicated my life to it in a way. I don't have that was an awesome that was a lightning strike. That was an awesome one. It went right from the ground straight down. I guess in a way when I started doing it, there's another cool thing. I just kind of started really appreciating visuals and even sound where it was calling me all the time, and things, a beautiful tree, or a beautiful sunset, or even rain and lightning strikes and things I'd put myself in was kind of calling me and almost, I guess, a painter probably would pick up a bunch of paints and just start painting, back in the day before photography came about, only 100 years. It's only been here 100 years. It hasn't been on Earth as long as painting and drawing and things, but it's accessible and it's quick, and it's very present tense. It happens, and you have to do a lot of predicting. You have to do a lot of studying, counting. I'll sometimes count between the lightning strikes, and I'll try to, predict it more so. And then eventually, what Lynch talks about, a moment happens. You can feel the moment in the air. It's a strange feeling. That will call you. And if you have a camera accessible, you will pick it up and you'll start. You'll begin. And you'll hit the buttons to start capturing it. I've seen Lynch in action when he was doing Inland Empire. I actually met him. David Lynch talks about that, and he has a little documentary that shows him capturing a moment, and he gets in this weird state. It's very strange, as he talks about. I believe in the Spiritus Mundi. I mean, I believe that there's a spirit. There's some type of energy that's, I don't know if you really want to call it otherworldly, as much as something that happens in nature. W.B. Yeats talked about it, and his wife, W.B. Yeats, wrote poetry and talked about this Spiritus Mundi that would come about and move their hands in a way to where they would begin to write. And that's where the poem Second Coming came from, is understanding that it exists. I think it's there in all art form in one way or another. It's something that we're not aware of, but yet we try to let it enter us like a record player, right? So there's a needle on a record player, and when it drops and hits the record, it starts to play the music, right? So we're a vehicle like that needle that touches the record and starts to play, and you have to allow it to happen, rather than try to control it. It controls you. There's a sense of stillness too, I think, that you start to understand, and then you start to realize, wow, there's an editing room I have to get to. Anyway, y'all have a good night. There it goes again. Beautiful lightning strike. Just came straight down. Only you could imagine it, like just coming straight down, like. Mm-hmm.